Hey up everybody and welcome back. Well, as you can see, we're where we left off last week. Where we left off last week. But I have had two deliveries. One inlet valve, still its Yamaha wrapper. That one came from the UK. One exhaust valve in a slightly different Yamaha wrapper, but still in the Yamaha wrapper. That one came from the States. So I'm going to put the valves in and then we'll put the head on and see how far we can go from there. Certainly with the head on we can put the exhausts on, the silencers on, we can do that flexible pipe underneath. I've also got a cam chain coming. I wasn't going to change the cam chain, but when I saw the couple of bent valves, well the heads were a little bit bent, I thought, you know, maybe the cam chain had slipped, maybe it was whatever. So I thought I'd order another one, and that hasn't arrived yet. So I don't want to put the camshafts in until the cam chain comes, because it's going to be harder to feed the chain through. Oh, let me show you something on that. Excuse me. Now, the cam chain is an endless chain, but I noticed some of the places that were selling them sold them as endless chains. Well, you can't get them in as an endless chain because of the way they're heading. There's a casting. One chain side's got to go up there and one's got to go up there. So it's got to be a split chain with a link that you actually rivet over. So, you know, if you bought one of them, you'd have to split it anyway. So I've got one coming, the proper one with its rivetable link, and when that comes, we'll put the camshafts in. But as I said, there's a lot of stuff we could do before that comes, and in particular, there's something I'm going to show you when we've got the head on, because I've had a thought about a head steady. So anyway, let me get these valves in, and then we can put the head on and go from there. Now we're ready to put the head on. And before I forget, just in case anybody was wondering, I did check the lengths of the valve springs, so they were okay. Now the head's got sort of 8 main through studs. It's got 2 studs in the head itself which go down through 2 holes over here, and then it's got another smaller bolt at each side. So these are 10mm, the others are 8mm. Right, now I can see all the way down both sides of the timing chain tunnel, so I'm going to be able to pull it up with a couple of wires, which makes it a lot easier. Alright, so we have, let me just put all these on loosely and then we'll start doing the talking. So we have, where's our grease? We'll put a bit of grease on these as we go. These smaller ones actually are the last ones that get tightened up, because there is a particular sequence. So I've got the book opened up for that. Bit like Norton Commando heads. They have about 11 bolts, but you can only see about 8 of them. A couple of them are really strange, like there's a couple of them point down and a couple of them are sort of hidden. And I certainly had one customer who used to do some of his own work, and I did a valve for him. And then I told him to just check the tightening. Anyway, blew a head gasket, and I've asked him, did you tighten the bolts down? Oh yes, all sort of 8 of them. And I said, no, there's like 11. So You've got to be careful with cylinder heads that you make sure you get them all. Actually, I'm going to need another socket because I only got ones for the other bolts. Let's have a look. I'll keep talking so you know I haven't run away from you. Oh, that's 12. Okay, I've got a 12. And that one goes down in there. Let me just run those down so that it's a little easier. Where am I? There we go. So I have a 12, which will get them. Now I mentioned a head steady. Right from when I first started this, I thought it was odd that there was only the 2 engine mounted points. There's the long through bolt at the back, and then as you've seen there's 2 at the front. And as I'm sure you all know, there's generally at least 3. There's normally, if there's 1, 2 there, there's with the Japanese bikes, there's 1 up at the top at the back, or with the British bikes there'll be 1 sort of up the front frame tube. So all the time I've been thinking, should I have something at the head? Well, I finally decided that I do want something up here. Not so much as a head steady, but I'd like to make it a little bit of an engine support. So I'll explain all that to you when we get to that point. Okay. So, let me see how much you can see here, because I might want to, yeah, I'm going to pull you back a little. So I can explain this head steady to you. So we have these 8 main studs. And what I've done is I've made some long bolts. Now these studs are 10 by 1.25, which are really difficult to find. So I've threaded these at one end, the end actually with the little pip on, as 10.125, so they're thrown. And this end is just an ordinary 3/8 fine. We're going to have 4 of these. Now 3 of them are the same length, but one part of the head, it sticks up a little bit, so it's slightly shorter. So we're going to have 4 of these here, and that's what we're going to build the head steady on, which is going to come up, go off this mounting here and off a mounting at the front. Now I'll show you them a little bit later when you can see better. The other thing is, of course, you always want to have good thick washers on the head, generally around about 1/8 of an inch, say 100 thou, something like that. So there was only 1 with this engine, so I've set 2 and made 8 of these. Hang on, I don't want that one to go on there because where am I made absolutely sure that 4 of them, the ones where the mounting bolts are going to be, are, oh god, it's in the other, hang on a second. The extensions I made exactly the same length, and I did the same with the washers. Oh, you look at that, there's less I made these the same size, there's less space at the back with these outer ones. Oh, let me put these 4 middle ones in. These are the ones, as I say, I made sure they were exactly the right length. They go on perfectly. Plenty of space. No. Well, they're made exactly the same size as the one that was on there. Yeah, that one's gone on fine, look. I'm going to have to ease a couple of these. They seem to be catching on one side, so I might be able to just take a piece off with a file. Yeah, they're not going in at the back. But let me just go and massage them slightly. Right, now 5 out of the 8 needed doing. So strange, as I say, I made them the same size as the one that was on. The normal nuts, I like that, and they're thin because there isn't a lot of space to get a socket in. Although they're 10mm, they're not standard 10mm spanner size or 10mm bolt spanner size. They only take 12mm spanners, whereas there should be, I think, 14, something like that. We'll put those 2 on there. There we go on there. Then we have one short one here for the place where there's a boss. Something must go through under there, oilway or something. And the other 3 are all longer, but when they're on, the tops are level. So now these have got to be tightened up, as I say, in a certain sequence, and also to a lesser torque and then to the final torque. So let us get these done. Let's see, which do we go? We go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's the first 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the tightening sequence, and first stage is 11 foot-pounds. That's not much, is it? Tell you what, let me just go around, tighten these down, and then when I've got the head properly torqued down, we'll come back to the next stage, which I think we'll put the exhaust pipes on next, partly because I want to see what they look like. Let me just torque this one. There we go. So let me stop you and then I'll bring you back. That's got it all torqued down properly, and I've put the rev counter cable in, and what I'm going to do now is just put 3 old spark plugs in so that nothing falls down the plug holes. Goes in from the other side. Right, that's that. And what I'm also going to do is just drop the rocker cover on. again, so that nothing falls down this hole here. Oh, I won't go on that dowel. There's a hole for a dowel there, and one there, but no holes in the actual rocker cover. Now isn't that strange? There's definitely two holes for dowels here, but oops, as you can see there, there should be one there and one there, and there aren't. They're just drilled to the bolt size. So we'll pull those dowels out. I have no idea then why they should be there. I'll look in the book before we finish off, but oh, and of course they're in good and tight. Oh, there's one. I mean, that's definitely a dowel hole. I have to warm this up just to... Yeah, oh well, that's in there really tight. I'll warm that up to open the alloy out a little, and then I can get that dowel out. Now the cam change's here, we can finish off the cylinder head. So the first thing we've got to do is put the buckets and shims back on the valves. And you see I numbered them all to make sure they went right. Before we start putting it all together, let's have a look in the bottom here. I haven't built this side for a particular reason. See, the cam chain is going to come down here, so it's a lot easier for me to get at it. But I just thought, here's the starter motor, and then there's an idler gear that goes in there. And then into this hole in the bottom is this long thing. This end actually drives the oil pump, and this part is a clutch for the starter. So that goes in there, idler gear to that, to there. Then this is driven by that. And that has dogs on the back that look, that's not actually a sprocket, that's for the dogs to go into. Then the final thing of note is this little pin, which is very nice because that is for the points plate to go on. Two things here. How many of you have done, well certainly the BSAs, I think the Triumph Lucas one, just with a taper. So you've got to put this on right, it's not locked in position. Some of the Lucas ones I know have a little pip at the bottom, but I'm pretty sure it's the BSA singles don't. So not only does this locate, pardon me, but I don't know how many times I've had people, particularly with Triumph twins, who can't get them to start after they've worked on them, particularly a restoration. And if they tell me they've rewired it, I know straight away they've got the plug leads crossed over. So I was thinking about this with having 3 of them, but the points plate, hang on, where's the points plate? Let me get that so I can show you. There's the points plate. It actually has the numbers stamped on next to the points. There's number 2, number 1, number 3. So that's going to be easy. Alright, enough of that. Let's see about getting this put together. First we'll put the actual cam chain in. We're going to feed it down one side, just let gravity take it, and then I've got a piece of welding rod with a hook on. We'll pull it up, and that's that. But before we do that, Abby was waffling on there about points and stuff while I was holding this. And of course, the other thing I showed you was the points plate. This is just the ignition cam and the centrifugal advanced retard. Alright, so let's see what we can do here. Now I've got to just move the guide out the way. And that is going to go down there like that. Put it over here. Make sure this goes down the right side. Put a little hook on the end of it that just nicely fits around the roller. Another job for 3 hands. I want that to go down the bottom so it doesn't catch on the sprocket. There we go, that's what we want. Now pull that up here. Down there. Again. And there we go. Oh yeah, bugger! Alright. Let's see what we've got here. Is that annoying or what? You little tinker. Alright. Now for a reap, and of course that now is stuck in there. Ah. Hee hee hee. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to find a little bit of string and tie the end up so it won't fall down again. I can never find any string when I need it, so I've got this nice pretty pink wire. Okay. Let's see if we can get ourselves organised here. Can't believe that. Well, I can. It's par for the course, isn't it? All right. Now, apparently we want this about half and half. About right there, so that wants to stay there, and this will pull up here a bit farther. And here, you see, is one of the reasons why I didn't want a lot of stuff in here. I can fiddle around with this. So that goes on that sprocket. We've got that there. So the next thing we're going to do is put the camshafts in. And there are some little marks when I put the caps on. The caps have got to go on a certain way. Let's have a look. And the caps are all marked with an arrow, so we know which way they go. And then there's a pip on it, and there's a mark on the camshaft itself. But what we've got to do from reading it is we've got to put this in lined up, and then we turn it 60 degrees. I'll read the instructions in a minute because I've got to refresh my memory. We turn one way and we turn one camshaft the other way after they've been sort of timed up. And what that is for when you put the chain tension in at the side, of course it's going to pull the chain in and it's going to move them a little bit. So if you line them up perfectly and you slack with the chain in the middle, then when that chain tightens up, it's going to turn the camshafts a little bit and they'll go out of their timing positions. So let me get the 2 camshafts out. Oil these, they just run in the head, by the way. There are no bearings at all. I'll oil all those and we'll just lay the camshafts in and put these on with their nuts loosely, and then we'll go from there. Now you set the timing with number 1 cylinder on top dead centre, which I'd done, but as you know there's always a little bit of rock at the top, so I've put this side cover on and the advanced retard, because as you can see there's a pointer here and there are marks on this, and what you've got to do is you've got to let that first T mark line up with this. So we're spot on for that. Let's go back up to the head. Now there's a little hole there which is the mark for this. You put it in here. Where are we? Put it in here. With that, you can't see of course, at 12 o'clock it says. Okay. Then we're going to move this. Hang on, where's the book? Let's get it right. There we lubricate the exhaust cam bearing surfaces and the cam bearing joints. Right, we've done that. Position the cam on the cylinder head so that the valve timing index dot on the camshaft boss is at 12 o'clock, which we've done that. Actually, it's where that pin is, more or less. Now, turn the cam clockwise 1/6 of a turn to bring the camshaft journal more closely towards the bearing surfaces. Fit the 4 numbered cam bearing caps with the arrow on each pointing to the left. The number 1 cap is fitted next to the sprocket. Okay, let's do that. So we're going to turn this 1/6 clockwise. 1/6. So that's to about 2 o'clock clockwise. So that's to about there. Okay, I'll lube these and put the caps on. That's the caps on and all torque down to 7 foot-pounds. Then this goes on. This is the inlet camshaft, exactly the same. We put it in with the little mark to 12 o'clock. Let's find the little mark. There it is. So we put that in there. Like that. A little mark to 12, and then we turn this one anti-clockwise, the 1/6 of a turn. So that goes to there. Right, now let me put these end caps, top caps on. I've got the inlet camshaft in, all done, and interestingly enough, I don't know if you can see this here on my finger. Can I? Put it on my palm. There, see that? 3 of these studs, the nuts were stripped, and I don't know if they purposefully put softer nuts on because you only torque them to £7, but they came off like a helicoil. They just stripped the threads out of the nut. One of them I ran the die down, but the other 2, they just screwed, you know, the bad thread just screwed straight off. So I've put new 6mm nuts on and they're all torqued up right. So the next thing to do is, I think, to put the chain on and to put the link in. And for that, I'm going to have to get my neighbour, because we've got to rivet the link. So I want a block held on the other side. And again, it's another 3-hand thing. I can't hold the punch, the hammer and the block. So let me go and see if I can rouse George, and we'll get on with that. Now, I don't quite follow this, but according to the book, we now turn these back using this, of course, because now some of the valves will be under tension, to line these marks up. This is before we put the chain on, so I don't see how it is tensioning the chain. But anyway, that's that one. So this one is going to go this way. All right. Then we put the top guide in. Now then, what I'm going to do now, because I've got to unfasten these chains, is jam a little bit of paper in so they don't flop down out of the way again. Right, that's got that one. I don't see what's wrong with a couple of push rods and a screw-in adjuster for the valve clearance. But then I like writing with a fountain pen, so who am I to say? Okay. So that's going to go there. Oh, great. Isn't that bloody typical? It's slack at the bottom. I'm going to have to try and move these a little bit, but they're on their marks. Well, that one maybe could move. That's going slack like that. Don't like this at all. Let's stick that back in there and have a look, see what we can do with the other one. That's tight to that one. No, it's slack now. And that's spot on its mark as well. Whoop. So that's gone on with the chain tight there. Hang on. Okay, that only went. All right. Well, it's on. Say that one's on its mark. And that's tight at the bottom. And that one actually is on its mark there. And I think, yeah, the tensioner will take that off. That looks good. Huh. So, they're both on their marks. Yep, spot on, spot on. Chain's tight on this side, tight on the top. Little bit slack on that side, and we'll take that slack up there. Very good. But I haven't found George, so I can't do this yet. So I'll think of something else to do. I thought as I jiggled things, I'd better come down and check this. So that is still spot on. So the timing seems to be right. Take that off and I'll show you what you couldn't see before. This is on dowel, so it's alright. See, that side's tight and this side's slack, and that's the side the chain tensioner will go in, so that'll pull that over. Oh, in fact I could put the chain tensioner on, couldn't I? So let's do that. Now, there wasn't a gasket in the gasket kit, and that doesn't really mean a lot. But looking at the book, I don't see a gasket going on here. So we'll just put a little smear of our non-hardening joint compound on. And I notice I said a smear. You're not sealing a bath. Okay, the next thing is this goes in and it has a flat on it, which has to go that side, because that's it. This thing has a lock bolt, which goes on the outside, which surprises me because it's remarkably unsightly. It's got to go, come on, get in that hole there. Now let me push that in and get that in on there so I know I've got it on the flat. Oh, bugger. There. That. And that. There we go. Goes on. Okay. There's that on there. That's tensioned up nicely. And somewhere there's a cover, a little copper washer, which we've of course annealed and cleaned up. Excuse me. We screw that on there like that. That takes a 12. And that I think looks like a 12 as well. There we go. And our cam chain is nice and tight, tight everywhere, and we're still on our marks. So that's looking good. All right, yesterday was sunny and I was out working in the garden when George came over, my neighbour. So I grabbed him, because he's a busy fella, and brought him in the workshop, and we put this link in. And I couldn't be bothered to go back and get the camera and get set up and everything. So I would say it's an easy job that isn't. I mean, all you've got to do is put the link in, put the plate on. He held the big hammer behind and I peened over the ends. But they're a really tight fit in this plate. It took us a couple of little clamps and all sorts to actually get the pins through this plate, which means the peening, you know, is is easier to do because you don't have a gap to fill or anything. Once you've turned it over a little bit, it's on fine. So anyway, you can see the ends are done there nicely. So that's done. We can move down to the bottom. So the first thing to put in down here is this oil pipe, which is actually, it's like a two-part, it's very Royal Enfield actually. This comes from the pressure side of the pump. So we're going to put this pipe in, it goes to there, then there's like a galley, and then there's another pipe that goes up to the head. And actually I've just had to order that pipe because I realised I didn't have one. So that goes in there like that. And that goes in there. Like that. So that goes up on there. Where are we? 12. I've noticed watching a couple of the videos that I keep getting my hands in the way, but to be honest, often that can't be helped. But now I'm thinking about it, I'll try and make sure it doesn't happen again. So that goes in there. And the next thing we'll do is we'll start to put the train of gears for the starter motor. So the first one is going to be this little fella here. It goes in it's going that way. Well then, that's got me a little baffled. That doesn't go all the way through. And as you can see, this sticks out. That doesn't reach that way. I mean, it'll reach that way, but whoa, back to the book. Now, according to the book, they want us to fit the clutch, the starter clutch first, but it says there to fit it with the washer and a shim on the outside, but this one seems to have the shim on the inside. So, and this diameter is much larger than that diameter, so it won't go out there. So let's follow instructions. As I say, this end drives the oil pump, so that goes in there into that bush. Seems to be in there nicely. Then it says to fit this with, hang on, let me have another look. I'll bet that's that there. That's that one. It was on here. Okay. It says to fit that in there. Put a drop of oil on that as well, I guess. Alright. Come on now, you looked as if you were lined up there. There it goes. Alright, that's that bit. Oh, I've got a little red light on my battery. Let me change the battery and then we'll come and do this bit. Right, we're full of electricity now, and I've also solved the washer slash shim problem here. When I put this in, I noticed it wasn't directly aligned with this. It was sticking out a little bit. And then, whoa, wait, whoa, well held. When I went to put this on, it said there was a plain washer, which I didn't have, and I thought, wait a minute, look at the size of that shaft. So I took this off, took the washer off there, which was this one, and that's the right one to go on there. So, where are we? Start the motor, just idle gear. That's on. We've got our washer, our spacer there. Now this goes on, and as I mentioned before, this front sprocket isn't really a sprocket. It's actually for locking these dogs into. So they go on there, like thus. Big plain washer goes on, and then, where is it? There's a big nut. Now, according to the book, there's no mention of a torque setting for this, so I'll give it a good clean up, and I think we'll put a bit of Loctite on this. Now, when I've got this nut on, I'm going to use this nut here to turn the crank, and I'll check the valve clearances. So let me just clear this off, put it on with some Loctite, and then we'll have a look at the valve clearances. Now it says to set the camshaft so that the lobe is away from the follower and the exhaust to 8 to 10. So an 8 fits there. There's a 9. A 9 is tight. It'll maybe force it in, but not. So that's right. So I'll go around, check all the rest. As I'm saying, I'm assuming they're going to be pretty close, and then we can put the top on. Oh, before I forget, we put some oil here on the rev counter drive. There we go. Alright, let me finish doing these and then we'll pop the cover on. Well, I have 3 valves that don't have the right clearance. They're all about 2 thou short. And interestingly enough, it's exhaust 2 and inlet 1 and 2, and exhaust 2 and inlet 1 were the valves I had to replace. So I'm going to have to make up a little tool to compress the bucket to get the shim out and measure the shims. So that'll take too long for this video because I think we're already getting on there. So that's it for today. You all go off and enjoy yourselves, and in particular Anne, I want you to leave David at home, take his wallet and just go out and really enjoy yourself.